Welcome back to Third Eye Weekly. Today we're here with Peggy Friedman, Executive Director of the Washington Square Park Music Festival.
And we're also here with Sarah Nielsen, the Executive Director of the Washington Square Park Conservancy.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us. It's
of course.
Exciting.
So,
I have to pause already. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
I have two titles.
Okay.
I use my Parks one, which is Administrator of Washington Square Park. I'm so sorry.
Okay,
but
yeah, that's cool.
Otherwise, it gets really confusing in the.
And Conservancy has nothing to do with the concert.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Park does.
yeah, it's yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're never quite sure when people have multiple titles which one to go with, so I'm happy
And
you clarified.
I meant to say that earlier. So
Yeah,
I
we
do
should have asked
apologize.
too. But that's cool. We'll just do take two.
Oh,
Okay.
it's Administrator of Washington Square Park. That's it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Welcome back to Third Eye Weekly. Joining us today is Peggy Friedman, Executive Director of the Washington Square Park Music Festival.
And we're here with Sarah Nielsen, the Administrator of Washington Square Park.
Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Of course. So this festival, this outdoor free concert series, is currently in its 57th year. I'm wondering a little bit about what the history is like for this, what it's been like to put this on over the years.
Well, I'm really, really old, but I'm not so old that I started in 1953.
Sure.
Actually, my mother started it. This is, I think, the only music festival that was founded by a civic organization as the Washington Square Association, which was founded in 1906.
Mm-hmm.
So, the village has a very long tradition, as well as being an avant-garde arty place. It also has a tradition, a neighborhood tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And the association thought it would be nice to have free concerts. And that was in the day when there wasn't any air conditioning. So people wanted, to come out. And a very famous violin virtuoso named Alexander Schneider,
Mm-hmm.
who was the violinist with the Budapest String Quartet, suggested it. First, I think he suggested it to a bank. And they said, well, $1,200 for the year. I mean, we can't possibly afford that. I mean, now it's, like $10,000 a concert. But anyway, so they went to the Washington Square Association, who gathered money from here and there, and we put on this first season. And it was very classical, very, he was European, Sacha Snyder. He's very famous. He was very famous. And so it was strictly classical. It was strictly chamber music. And over the years, it's evolved to some very avant-garde music, some jazz, some salsa. Johnny Colon has performed with us. Panama Francis, if you ever heard of him, as a drummer. So it's become a festival, and it really is maybe the only festival that is really founded by a civic organization and has kind of wide support. We have tremendous support from the Parks Department.
It's just one of our favorite events of the whole summer in the park. It's really a village place. It's a village gathering, and you see sort of all the neighbors, and then so many people who come down to the park from around the city, because it's world-class musicians who are being brought together in, of course, if I may say, a beautiful setting. So
A totally beautiful setting.
So we're just thrilled to have the festival every year, and I'm just so excited to be part of 57 and as many more as I can.
Excellent.
I always feel that we're kind of a mendicant organization. We're always going around begging, like, oh, please, Parks Department, please don't charge us for the bleachers. Please,
Take the bleachers.
Please, NYU. No, I shouldn't say that because then everybody will want it. But they do a tremendous amount of helping us with rain space and rehearsal space and programs. And we really feel we're a part of an NYU team. And of course, NYU almost uses the park as a campus, so they do welcome us. I think there. So, you want to hear a story?
Yeah,
I mean, kind of a story.
we love stories.
That's what we love.
So, sort of in the middle, so it's kind of being this almost staid classical music concert. And I should show you some pictures someday. I don't know whether I've shown them of this kind of a front row of all these like white lady and gentlemen, with little white gloves.
Really?
Sitting, yes.
Oh, wow.
They're sitting there very decorously. They have little hats. My mother used to wear a little hat. And then there are like lots of people and lots of. I looked at one picture and said, "Oh my God, I'm really think that's my old boyfriend from acting school." It's like, well, I know they're not with me. Isn't that funny? And they're particularly like in the 50s, I guess, interracial couples, lying on the grass, listening to the music. And so there's this funny kind of dichotomy, if you look back on it.
What picture is that? How old is that picture?
Some of those were late 50s, early 60s. But in 1963, my mother, who was not particularly progressive, but she was interested in music, and she learned that it's very, very hard for Black musicians at that time, if they were conductors, they could not get jobs here, no matter how good they were. And the excuse was that white musicians would not take orders. Can you believe this? Couldn't have a black leader because, I mean, who's going to take an order? So there were
Really? Wow.
famous good conductors like Dean Dixon. This is like in the late 50s, early 60s, who had a European career because he could not get work here. So my mother thought it would be a really good idea to try and find a person of color to be a conductor. And she found out about this conductor actually was working in California. His name was Henry Lewis. He ended up being conductor at the Metropolitan Opera. His first gig was with us. And so she wrote him and said, you know, really like, I don't know whether she said, because you're a Negro, but probably not. I mean, I hope she was didn't say that. You know, but would you please come and conduct? And he wrote back, and she knew who he was. He had great credentials, and everybody, it wasn't just because he was black. You know, he was great. You know, he was really, we were lucky to have him. You know, he was kind of under, you know, under his talent range, what he was doing. So she, he wrote her back and said, yes, of course, I will come, but I want to tell you, my wife is a soprano, and she's going to be performing in New York. She's having a debut at Carnegie Recital Hall, and I will only come if she can perform. I don't know. What is her name? I don't know whether you know this name, Marilyn Horne.
Sounds, yeah.
Hey, she's like a megastar,
Yeah.
a megastar, a total megastar.
Amazing.
So I was like, I don't know, you know, is she any good? This is really another we're talking, but I promise you, you'll like her. So Jackie, as we called her in those days, you know, came and she sang. She did her Carnegie Recital Hall debut like a couple of days before, and she performed in Washington Square. And I have these pictures of Henry conducting and Marilyn Horne singing. And, you know, that's just a kind of an exciting, I think it's an exciting story. But it's also pathetic so I guess it is kind of a long time ago that people like Henry couldn't get work.
Yeah.
With this ridiculous idea. And you know, like most musicians, I don't think you feel that way at all. I mean, what do they care?
Oh, what,
You
was
know.
this festival sort of the first progressive movement towards actually accepting many different races in?
I don't think we could go that far.
No,
I mean, it's
no.
like small potatoes.
Yeah.
But, you know, all these things are like little cracks opening
Yeah.
a door. Like the tragedy of what happened in, I'm sorry about the festival, but I think the tragedy of what happened in South Carolina is making people think in a whole new way. It's like, you know, why is that flag flying?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
why is that flag flying? And, you know, it's coming down.
Mhm. Definitely.
And, you know, first I thought maybe that was a distraction because you can take all the flags down and that still doesn't solve the problem. But it's
Everyone
really,
still has guns.
everybody still has guns,
So,
but it's
yeah.
really like a strong statement. Like, we're not going to, maybe, that we're not going to take it. Anyway, sorry, probably would cut that
So-
out. But,
And the music brings people together, I think.
and the music
Mhm.
brings, oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
absolutely brings people together.
Mhm.
And for the jazz, some of the jazz concerts, you know, we kind of, because people might get hurt, you know, we don't encourage dancing. I mean, we actually say no dancing in the aisles. But we let people, you know, dance
Kids,
a little bit.
Little kids dance.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
very cute.
Oh, you have never seen them? I guess not in your tenure.
Mhm.
There, you know, be some kind of like crazy
No,
park
I
guys.
have
that
seen,
would
right,
come.
yes, I have seen some people
Really
really getting
kinda-
down. Yeah.
Kind of nuts.
The crazy hippie dances swirling around.
like park people with dreads, or you know, there was another guy,
cool.
you know, with a
Amazing.
mustache and a
Mhm.
straw hat, and they would dance with old ladies, and nobody would dance with them.
Oh,
And these old ladies, but you know, they're having this great time.
what a scene.
And it's very mellow. I
Yeah.
think that music really brings, you know, and even like sometimes we have trouble with ambient noise. Like people all of a sudden get jealous and want to play their instruments really loud next to even though we have a permit and they don't.
Mm.
So usually, like, instead of coming on like gangbusters, I'll go and say, you know, like, could you just wait? You know, it's probably like an hour and a half more.
Mhm.
And then usually, okay. And there was one guy who was very aggressive with the saxophone. You know, it was like right there, like right. And I was saying, look, you know, we'll be finished at 10. You can get up on the stage then. Can you
Yeah.
wait? And, oh, all right. But he would stand at the on the barriers, and he would go. I said, no. No. But you know, there's that kind of communication, which I think makes everybody,
Right.
you know, he probably enjoyed the music, but he had to
Mhm.
like make his point that he
Yeah.
was a musician too.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
And we try to be very inclusive.
Mm.
But the most serious thing that happens to us are very, very vicious little old ladies who don't understand that a reserved seat, even though there may be many more other seats that don't have a reserved sign on it, that reserved seat, they're little old ladies, they're really old and they're crabby and they want that seat. So that is a big problem. But we usually,
That's
you
one of
know,
the big issues.
that's a big issue. But
Things are tough in the village.
Yeah.
It's a tough
It
place.
sounds like it, real
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah, it's a rough crowd.
So how did you guys both personally get involved? You were speaking a little bit about your mother. So your mother,
My mother, it's really like, it sounds like a silly kind of a thing to say, but when I was starting at 14, I'm 77 now, so 14 is like a really long time ago. I started passing out programs. I think she probably had to pay me like $1 an evening or something like that. You know, and then we go sit on the grass with our friends. And by the time I was 16, I was sitting on the grass and drinking beer with my friends. I would pass my programs out, and
Can I issue a summons retroactive?
Here we go.
No alcohol in the park.
no, you can't. Okay,
Go ahead.
you can't. She was kind of horny, you know,
Just always.
so officious. And so then I began, you know, working, and then I was going to college, and I was doing theater, and I was doing some PR on my own, and so it kind of evolved into, first I was doing PR under somebody that was doing it for the music festival, and then I took over the PR, and then I took over, you know, just kind of grew into
Nice.
it. Yeah, as my
Wow.
mother, you know, by the time my mother got 80 to be about 81, ooh, I'm really there. She really got a little too old for it. But another funny story about my mother was that when she was, maybe she was younger, maybe she's 79 at that time, and she's kind of getting old there, you know, she's sitting there, and it was very tough. It was a year, it was very tough in the village because the Mills Hotel was open. It was a hotel for homeless people, kind of. It's like Flop House, that's what, on Bleecker Street, where the village gate is now. And so these guys would come into the park. I mean, we would be sitting up, and one of them, like, one day picked up a bottle and broke it and went after the other one. I'm like, do I have to do this? You know, so I said, excuse me, you gotta do that over there, like over there. So anyway, so whatever's happening, my mother said, no, we have to hire a guard this year. All right. So the Pinkerton guard is standing in a uniform, and two people, a man and a woman, are drunk, and they get up and having a fight. I mean, they're fighting among each
During
other.
the performance?
During the performance,
Okay,
you know,
okay.
they're yelling and screaming at each other, and the guard is looking away. We're going, and the guard is, and so my mother gets up, and she's like a little old lady, and these two people are fighting, and she grabs them, and she just says no, and they're like, oh, and she just takes them, we're going now, you know, and so we didn't hire the Pinkertons. I mean, it sounds like we're really crazy there, but you know, I could sit here and tell you all the fantastic music we played and the famous people. Wynton Marsalis played with us when he was 17 years old.
Wow.
Last week we had Stanley Drucker at 81.
Wow.
81.
81?
Yeah, he's the, thank you. He was the first clarinet for the New York Philharmonic for 60 years.
Wow.
And we get musicians, we just pay them the minimum union fees. They are union. I mean, some people say, oh, you have to pay them. You know, do you get paid? You know, I like to get paid.
Yes.
Of course.
But the players don't always get to play this kind of music, you know, in the commercial, even though it's classical music, you know, so that they're able to evolve their own programs. And it's kind of a collective, I would say, with our music director, Lutz Roth, even though he leaves his cell phone on sometimes when he's performing. He is so creative and so talented, and he gets music that nobody's ever heard of. You know, he finds these pieces and he experiments. And sometimes one is more successful than the other. But, you know, that's what an experiment is. You know, everything's not going to be equally successful. And if you just do, and then I'll shut up, if you just do like your classical repertory, everybody will like it, but it's a museum. Then it's just a museum, and you need to be something else too.
I think that's exactly for me what makes the festival so special is the programming is an amazing array of eras and styles, and sometimes it'll be focused on just one instrument, or we had the Double Reed Festival last summer, so it was a whole evening of double reed instruments and all different pieces and times. And we had, as I was saying earlier, we had the Alphorn last week. We're having a harp concert tonight. So many different things, but then the pieces aren't just one era. So it really encompasses so much that it just, I think it's the eclecticism that we love to see in the park and in the village. It's so wonderful.
But so
Peggy.
really, you know, but thank you, Sarah. But Sarah really appreciates them, you know, and she listens to it.
I love the concerts. It's my favorite.
I mean, that
thing
made
of the year. Yeah.
made me
Yes.
laughing,
Mhm.
like she listens to it. But you know, one year there was a policeman standing there, very bored, and I said, oh, you know, do you like the concert? Here's a program. Oh, he said, do you like? No, I don't like this music. I said, oh, what do you like? And he said, 50s rock. It's like, that's all.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very
Bored with
specific.
that after.
You know, it's very narrow.
Yeah.
What food do you like? You know,
So,
hot dogs.
In that regard, what are each of your personal favorite performances you've seen over the years that you've been putting this on? I know it's
I have
probably
a
tough to
shorter-
pick
I have a
just one.
shorter list
That's
than
totally
you.
okay.
It was the second year, and it was so it was last summer. No, it was the summer before. It was the year that it was a terrible thunderstorm. So we were in St. James Church on St. James.
St. Joseph's.
St. Joseph's,
St.
pardon me,
Joseph's.
on 6th Avenue.
Roman Catholic Church.
Roman Catholic Church, and it was so hot. Their air conditioning was broken. It was a day like today, but it was just sheeting thunderstorm outside. So the atmosphere was, ready.
Misty.
Yeah, it was incredible. And there was an oboe piece that closed out the first half of the night, and then the second half was that small opera. I don't remember what it was, but it was probably the most wonderful music performance I've seen in a very long time.
It was a Judgment of Paris.
Yeah. Peggy knows. I was just
I
transported.
can't
It was
remember. I have a
so
bad short-term memory.
wonderful. Yeah, I should have brought the program because I should have anticipated that
The,
question.
the composer won
Yeah.
second prize in
Mhm.
something like 1719 in England.
My
on
new
that
favorite
day.
song. Yeah. So it was so. The performance was just riveting. So.
It
Wow.
was.
Yeah.
That was.
That was mine. Which I know I should be saying one that's in the park. I also love anytime.
Well, it would have been in the park.
It would have been in the park, but whenever the fireflies start to come out,
Yes.
Mm.
It can be
just,
magical.
It's just so
Mm.
magical. Yeah.
With the moon, maybe over.
Mhm.
You know.
Obama's helicopters have occasionally been circling. Like last summer, different things are going on.
I would say that mine would be. There's a fantastic harpsichord player that plays with us, Kenneth Cooper. He's a musicologist and a teacher and harpsichord
Mhm.
player. He did Judgment of Paris.
Okay.
He was also at the keyboard.
Okay.
And he did all 5 or 6, 7, I don't know how many, Bach Brandenburg Concerti.
Mm.
And it was fantastic. And a lot of people, oh, it's going to be boring. It's going to be this. It's too much of the same. Actually, my husband said that. What? You're going to do them all? So I can think the 5th is famous, and it is a 6. I mean, they're just 6, whatever what it is. It was riveting.
Mhm.
And it was so exciting to have the harpsichord. One thing that we have a very fantastic sound system.
Mm.
And they really do their best because it's not, we don't have a lot of rehearsal time.
Right.
You know, there's a sound
Mm.
check. It's not really it's like 3/4 of an hour. And it's hard to mic a harpsichord. I mean, it's easy to mic it so you can hear it on Fifth Avenue, but that's not the point of a harpsichord. You know, you got to get it so that you can hear it and it's distinct, but yet it's blending
Right,
with
it
the
blends,
orchestra.
yeah.
And that was, I think, a magical performance. And this is a man who has is one person. He'll play, brings his Robert Turner is a harpsichord manufacturer, and he brings his harpsichord. He tunes it even indoors. Tunes it before Ken plays. He waits. He tunes it in the intermission. I mean, it's just it has to be so precise.
Wow.
Ken is such a. I brought him up once and do a little series at my church up. I live upstate, and Ken came up. Every time I work with him, oh my God, he's such a bus partner. He's not listening to this. You know, I'm never going to work with him again. But he's such a fantastic genius. You know, he walks into the church, and the church lady had decorated all these beautiful flowers. Get these flowers out of here. Get these flowers out of here. Now,
Yeah.
these women are not New Yorkers.
Did he hate the park?
No.
He could handle it.
He
Okay.
can
I didn't mean to
handle it.
interrupt you.
Yes, no, somehow he could handle the part. You know,
Okay.
maybe he's ready for that.
He
But,
breezes.
For sure.
Yeah.
the church ladies just, oh my goodness, we put flowers. Oh, I'm so sorry. And took them away, whereas New Yorkers was, oh, you know. No, but I think some artists, some of our musicians, and some can't play in the park. They're so sensitive and attuned to what their art should be that they can't. It's very hard to deal with the distractions, and there are distractions. And there were times when I just really throwing the police under the bus. Right? were you there when we had a really belligerent guy?
This
who
was 2 years
dangerous?
before my
Before
time,
you?
so
When
the
Alan-
shadow, that's a long shadow of this guy.
Everybody's
Yeah.
on the phone trying to get the cops who were like someplace else, as they usually are. And Alan Gerson was then our council person, and it was somebody who liked to talk a lot. I mean, he liked to talk so much. So he's talking, and this guy, I mean, he seems very threatening. And the stage manager's trying to deal with him and can't deal with him. And Alan and Castro was there. Wayne
Castro
Castro,
was there, yeah,
and he's
yeah.
showing him his badge and saying, "You have to leave." And he goes, swearing, saying, "I'm going to leave." And Bill is also on the phone, and he can't get anybody to come. And I think he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't want to, like go mano a mano with this man. And
Was your mom there? She could have just
no,
like,
she was
Yeah,
right.
dead by
His
that.
hand.
With a hand out of the
You
grave,
have, you know.
Alan just started to talk to him, and he was so wonderful. And he met him, he put his arm around him. It was this long,
Really?
it was this long time. Blah, 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 step, step, step. Blah, 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 blah. Step, step, step. And he got in and out, and he got in. Because
Calm down,
it was
yeah.
possessed by demons, but
Mm.
we really didn't want him and his demons on the stage.
Yeah, it was,
So, but I'm just talking about kind of these are going to be funny. I'm not talking about the seriousness of I think what we do because so many people don't listen to classical music, but they might
Right.
listen to it like in an elevator or it's like a background.
Right.
yeah. I wanted to ask a little bit about the piece coming up in June 30th, right? It's Wind, Music, and Voices. Is that the?
Yes, it.
And
is
how was
just-
that created? And Leela Salin is the
Layla Salins, yes,
Layla
is
Salins.
singing this fantastic song. I mean, I really do know it, but I just, I'm looking at the thing to make sure I get it. Maybuds flowers bloom all around. It's a very, very sad poem that was set to music by Alexander Zemlinsky. And he was a Austrian Jew that had to leave. And this is just a poem about love and separation and sadness
Mhm.
and death. And it's a beautiful, beautiful work. And this is a more classical program that we're doing. Certainly if we have a Beethoven wind septet on it, but it's going to be beautiful. And Beethoven, is beautiful.
Mhm.
So I think it'll be for the classical music fans. This is the one program that you could, classical now means anything that's sort of done in a hall. There's like modern classical.
Right.
There are also
Yeah.
periods. There's Baroque and there's classical, and
Yeah.
Beethoven is romantic, Bruch is romantic. I mean, none of this would be in the classical period.
Mm.
But classical music is better, ASCAP calls it, when you're doing serious music. I mean, would anybody want to now you're going to hear a concert of serious music. Do not smile. Turn your cell phone off.
Dial.
dial. And we even did a piece, and I can't remember, last year that Lila did, that was based on comic book characters. Do you remember that? It was so funny.
Yes.
And the text that she was doing was just really noise, like bam! And then the music was, woo! But
Very
she's-
experimental.
Yes, and
Yeah.
she said, but it was, if you followed it on the piece of paper that was in the program, it was the sounds that in comic books they make, kaboom,
Yeah.
and it just was so. She's a great actress, also, Lila
Yeah.
Salin. She's a mezzo. She's originally parents are Latvian,
Wow.
and we have some. Lutz Roth is originally German, so he has a very strong classical traditional background. He's very firm, and he's a brilliant, brilliant cellist. But he likes experimental stuff. And we sometimes have to rein him in because like most people are not going to hear some of his Dada pieces.
Be a little too much.
Well, it's
It's the whole night.
not the whole
Yeah.
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 Small.
But
piece.
small, so he can kind of, he'll always say, oh, I suppose we have to have another bonbon in here. And a bonbon for him is going to be a Schubert piece. I mean, it's hardly like, the pops.
Yeah.
But we try to, I guess what I'm saying is we try to, have something that's going to interest and involve a lot of people. And
Sure.
nobody likes everything.
Mhm.
So it's
Yeah.
nice to have stuff on the program that maybe people would say, well, it's probably about over, till we get to the Beethoven.
Sure.
Or people say, oh my God, I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Is that how you guys are trying to hope to bring in more people to have an interest in classical music again, or not classical music, but just like
Serious music.
maybe open their minds to
Yeah.
what they think
Mhm,
classical music
mhm,
really is,
mhm.
and see how there is an actual large diversity in it. It's not something you're just hearing in the background of an elevator. It's something
Exactly.
with these skills and these different lengths of experimentation that you can go on. Is that what you guys are sort of hope for? What is
I
the-
do hope for that. I think we all hope for that. And I think that bringing stuff in, like Lutz brought in, we alternate. The last concert is always either jazz or it's been Argentine tango. 2 years it's been African music, like East African music,
Mhm.
very authentic, is to try and break down the barriers between serious music, you know, between a concert hall and what you really enjoy.
Yeah.
You know, because it's interesting and it's complex. And it's so many times people just this stuff. I mean, we all do that. We turn on the television, you know, and it's just washing over us to make people actually stop. And that's what I'm so proud of New York audiences.
Yeah, it's impressive. People really enjoy. They come and they'll sort of up for anything. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, man, exactly.
Yeah.
They are up for anything, but they'll also listen.
Mhm.
It's not. We don't have audiences like that are talking and getting. I mean, they don't stay for the whole thing, and that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. You know, it's like Chinese opera. People wander in and out, but we do have an audience that's really engaged.
And they're
you know,
captivated.
sometimes it makes me want to cry. You know, sitting in the park, there's a noise around it. Everybody is just like listening and mellow and getting their own understanding. Whether it might be jazz, you know, it might be, you know, contemporary piece, it might be a Baroque piece, but it's bringing people together, and I think you're in a happier mood when they leave. But I think I'm more interested in entertainment and enlightenment, you know, maybe a little education. We put the dates of the musicians, of the composers on the program as the education.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hey, some people don't have a clue.
It's true.
I mean, you know,
It's true.
sometimes I don't have a clue. I look at it. Oh, that's what
Yeah. I don't
So one last question for you guys. Obviously, this is a free concert series, but it's nothing is ever really quote unquote free. Is there anything our listeners can do to help contribute to keeping this going?
Oh, that's very nice of you. They could donate on www.washingtonsquaremusicfestival.org. There's a button. You can, you know,
Awesome.
you can do that. And our next, I think, for our listening audience today, there is a concert Tuesday, June 30th, 8 o'clock in Washington Square Park. That's the Winds and Voice concert and chamber ensemble. And if it rains, like it's been doing, it will be in New York University's Frederick Lowe Theater, 35 West 4th Street, 1 block east of Washington Square. And I hope everybody comes. And you don't have to stay for the whole thing. And it's not too
Definitely.
serious.
It's not seriously.
Definitely come out. Thank you two so much for joining us today. It was a
thank
pleasure
you.
speaking with
Yes,
you.
it's so
Thank you.
nice. Wasn't that fun?
It was fun. Thank you.
So bad.
Thank you.
Wonderful.